Hey everybody, Kristen Moore here from More Than Just X. Here's a quick training. So one thing that I get asked all the time is how can I make my given curriculum better and more engaging? And I'm here to tell you that it can be done in as little as 5 minutes. So stick with me. Let's talk about two different ways we can fix our lessons in under 5 minutes. All right, first up, we've got the Quickie Fix. The Quickie Fix is one of my all-time favorites. All you're going to do is you're going to look through your textbook. You are going to look through your guided notes, whatever it is that your curriculum is, and we are going to make a quick swap. So if I go into my textbook and I find let's find a word problem here that means absolutely nothing to my students. So I've got a word problem. You can't see it. It's all blurred. It's fine. This word problem here is all about whales. And so whales and whale diving and pressure per square inch. None of that matters to my students. We don't live near the ocean. They're not going to be thinking about that. What is a way that I could quickly swap out a scenario into this problem to make it more effective and efficient? So if I'm thinking about water and pressure and weight, actually in Michigan, you can do a bunch of really cool scuba diving for shipwrecks and stuff. So I'm going to take this, and instead of talking about whales, we're now going to talk about scuba diving. Quick and easy. I'm going to switch it out in my slides. I'm going to switch it out in my guided notes. We are good to go. Now, what if we're looking at another problem here where we are talking about, I don't know, here's a real life problem using a cyclist. I was going to show you, but we just saw how that happened last time, right? Real life. So if I've got a cyclist here, I'm going to give that cyclist a name. I'm going to give it a name of my students. Why? Because relevancy matters. Something that they care about, something they know about, right? That's going to matter first. That's my swapping for scuba diving. And what else matters? Representation. Not everyone is represented equally in the textbooks and curriculum that we have. So by you taking the 2 seconds to go through any and every story problem in there and you swap out that name for your student's name, you have instantly got so much more buy-in. When students start hearing their names and seeing their names coming up over and over again, they're visualizing and seeing themselves as mathematicians. Do you know how long that takes you? Like 2 seconds to go in and edit these things. And now you can do that every single year. Keep the same lesson. All you have to do is refresh the names. Same thing here. Where I asked my students, I knew that they were going to be given a situation where it was eating a couple of different things that my students don't have. So instead, I brought it back to them. I kept it relevant for them. I said, okay, cookies and chips. I know those are the #1 sellers in our cafeteria. So how are you going to do that? What are we going to do? And then they were able to solve a very similar problem. It set them up for success on the problem that had slightly less relevant food for them. Those are our Quickie Fixes. Then we have 5-minute fixes. So let's see. Switch that to the 5-minute fixes. These ones take just a little bit longer than swapping a name or swapping a food item or swapping a quick scenario. But these are really, really impactful. And so this is when you are going to be adding in like a lesson launch or an anchor activity that's going to be able to be referred back to throughout the unit. So you've maybe heard me talk about the kendama before. I keep it right here as a constant reminder that I need to be connecting with my students. What I did with this was we were about to study quadratics. Quadratics aren't all that inherently interesting to students until they realize that anything that you throw or kick or projectile in any way can be modeled with a quadratic. Then they care a little bit more just because they think that that's fun, right? So one thing that they thought was really fun the year that I swapped this out was this kendama. I didn't know what it was. It was really annoying, but I knew it hooked my students' interest. And so what I did, I redesigned our launch activity where we talked about how to graph parabolas. I changed it in their guided notes. I changed it as our lesson opener. And I had students practice. I'm not going to show you. It's really not pretty. Practice showing me how this worked. And we practiced drawing them on whiteboard. And then we labeled increasing, decreasing, maximum, minimum, vertex. We talked about axis of symmetry. All of those things with an anchor activity that was related to them. Honestly, took me 5 minutes to do because I, A, had an in. I knew exactly what they wanted. And B, I knew my lesson objective. Right? I knew that I needed them to learn the characteristics of a parabola. It's section like 2.2. I think in my in my notes. I know I just did it this fall. So I know that it's in there. I knew what it was. Honestly, it just took 5 minutes for me to have someone come up, show, show, show. We practiced graphing. I went right into my lesson. That lesson is going to stick a lot longer than one that isn't connected. So that's my challenge for you. Do a quickie fix or a 5-minute fix. You can make one small tweak today to make a greater impact on your classroom and your students for tomorrow. That's it for now. Till next time, keep it real.